This is Marky Mark Markellis from Soul Wizard Podcast, and you are listening to the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one
quarter
too.
pounder with cheese and France, Mickey? What? Boy, ale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And Don.
What? JD, your voice changed. I'm ruining
the
joke.
wonders of science.
So, boys and girls, obviously you noticed JD's not here this week. He is off on assignment, but of course we have the wonderful Don filling in for us. So how you doing, Don? We haven't talked to you in a while.
Oh, I'm doing awesome. New comic book X-Men event just launched, and it's a doozy, so that's fun.
Nice.
I actually just went on a camping trip that I came back from last night, and it was just, me and the wife and no kids, and that's a rarity, so that was fun as well. So yeah, as always, man, I'm blessed and having a good time.
Are you and 8-Bit Ray going to have to debate this new event?
No, because he's not right. I mean, I see where he's coming from, but because, guys, even me, myself, I'm like, God damn it, Hickman, what the fuck are you doing? I don't get none of this. And then I wait 2 issues and it's like, oh, okay. So, yeah, I'm uncomfortable with not knowing what the hell's going on with the story 1 or 2 issues in if I don't have some sort of semblance of what may happen. And that's just not the way Hickman writes. He's just, yep, you know what I did 20 issues ago? That's important now. I mean, he's even calling back stuff to like the 80s and shit. So
He doesn't do Chekhov's guns. He does Chekhov's crossbows. I mean, there's. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just.
No,
I get what you mean. It's like
you got to go in for the slow ride, man. Just go in and enjoy it. I mean, and it comes together.
And make sure you don't miss.
He had Apocalypse crying. Okay, like I'm like, no.
And just make sure you don't miss anything, because if you miss something
Right.
like 40 issues later you're severely going to miss what the actual plot what happened.
Oh yeah.
So John, since you rudely interrupted,
Of course I did. That's what I do, right?
how are you?
I awkwardly and rudely interrupt.
Are you surviving your the attempt on your life by JD?
I don't know yet. I have no idea what game he's brought, and so I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to see, like I'm making sure that I prepare all my own food. I check in the key, I check through the peephole before I open the door,
Well, that's what he's sharpening his werewolf fangs. That's why he's really off this.
Yeah. So, no, I can't wait to see what he does.
Cool. And you've been staying out of trouble?
I wouldn't go that far. Well, not dating, so there's a height to the amount of trouble I can be in at this point.
Poor John. The ups and downs of your dating life. I am highly disturbed by the internet.
As you should be, but why for?
I just learned, like literally, I was watching a video before I got on, and apparently there's a term out on the internet called milkers. I'm not going to go into detail, but you people disgust me.
Yeah. You'll find all sorts of that on the internet.
I imagine that what's the blonde hero in The Boys? The Superman ripoff.
You mean Homelander?
Homelander. I imagine Homelander is a milker, but we'll get into that later.
Cheap Chris Pratt in his Want to be girlfriend Marty McFly's wife?
Dude.
I think they're.
Oh, go ahead. You keep going.
I pretend it's in the same as in the Back to the Future, that they're in the same reality, and that's what his wife did. Before we caught up with him in the second Back to the Future.
Dude, there are milkers all over where I live. There's an Amish farm right down the street. They've got a bunch of. Seriously, there is a milk farm right down the street from me. There are milkers in there, I'm sure. I mean, else how do they get the milk out of the cow, right?
Exactly. All right. Whew.
Steer us away from that one, huh?
Yeah.
You brought it up.
Oh man, no, yeah. Anyway, but other than that, I mean, things are going all right with me. I've been thinking about writing a book.
Your grandpa now, right? Again?
Not yet.
Oh, nice. Oh, no, not yet. Okay.
Very soon, though, right?
Yes, very soon, but not yet.
Like any minute now?
No.
Oh, so that was a false alarm.
No. Okay. I wasn't going to say anything, but my daughter is in labor, but she's been in labor for 2 days, and they don't even think it's going to be today. They think it's going to be tomorrow, maybe Wednesday.
But it's reasonable to assume you'll be +1 here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
good.
And it's because she's finding out this is actually so. The twins were a cesarean because they were twins and they were early, and so apparently this is normal when it's your first time, natural birth. So she's not happy. Let's put it to you that way.
I was going to say though, it could have been +2 again, but knowing her, but yeah, if you're sure it's 1.
No, we're 100%. They checked multiple times. She doesn't want 2 more.
Yeah.
Especially because the twins are 2, so
So what kind of a book are you? I've actually been thinking of that too, but I'm interested. What kind of book? What kind, like a fantasy, like John, or?
No, John is not my
Biograph?
fantasy.
Mine's urban fantasy. So with science fiction, I have a very large Chekhov's cannon waiting in the wings. Hence the need for the timeline software. So yeah.
So I mean, I've had an idea for a comic book for a long time. I just haven't sat down and wrote it. Like I started an outline, but I never actually worked on it. But no, I was actually thinking about writing about and it's just from everything that I've been going through the past year and whatnot, and like, I mean, obviously people who listen to the show know that I've been working on myself, trying to lose weight. Mm-hmm. So,
succeeding to lose weight.
Absolutely.
Judging from the pictures.
So I was thinking about writing about like that whole thing. So, and just what I've learned and for myself. And, the journey that I've been on.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and a lot of people, could use advice when, trying to do that for their health or a lot of other reasons. So,
well, I mean, it's funny because that's actually the one thing that I've really learned is whenever you tell somebody, it doesn't matter who the other person is, whenever you tell somebody, I decided I'm going to lose weight and get in shape, everyone has advice for you.
Yeah.
And everyone has different advice for you.
Oh, yeah.
And all you could do is figure out what works for you. So,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's just an idea I'm kicking around. We'll see.
I mean, it sounds really constructive because when I talk about my book idea, it's like Highlander with time-traveling dragons. And,
that sounds awesome.
Well, I kind of think so. I've been jotting some shit down on the phone and added to it, but Dave sounds way more constructive and useful.
I had an idea, and this might be crazy talk, but there's been talk in the ether about a Highlander reboot.
Yes, I know. I keep hearing about it, and I want it so bad.
And I had actually thought about how could you do a Highlander reboot and take Highlander and kind of have it make a little more sense and work. And I know some people are going to scoff at this. I don't care. This is my idea. Make them fallen angels.
Yeah, sure.
They were kicked out of heaven. Their memories were wiped, so they don't know, but they're just drawn to each other to fight.
Right.
And the not the quickening, whatever the award is that is the quickening what they call the award? I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the quickening they got every time
So the
they killed each other. And
the
then it
lone
became mortal.
survivor gets to go back. So
That's according to which I guess number 2 you watch. Because I think
yeah, exactly.
But didn't Highlander 3 kind of hint that they were from another world or whatever?
Highlander 2 expressly showed it. But I know that's the one that kind of got redone and boiled over. But yeah, it was Zeist, I think it was called. But yeah, that would be cool. Don't do the alien shit, because that's not interesting per se, unless they've got 6 arms. But this is key. Don't have, I'm the only one that can be only one after the first movie. Decide, this is going to be a trilogy, this is going to be 6 movies.
Right.
And the end of that series, the end is, okay, McLeod is the one. He gets to grow old with his family and have that human life.
Because they kept changing it.
Otherwise, you can't go wrong. You can do shit in the medieval period and present, in the future. But them continually having to go back and explain why there's more ones. There's more that can be only one now. That's what threw that.
Yeah, you're talking about the series. There is the Highlander the series that went through all that.
There's also,
and they did pretty well.
The problem with the movies is each movie retconned the previous movie, and then the first movie, there's a lot of stuff that was cut out where they were playing around with the idea of the curse of being immortal, you know? And
John's going to be so pissed that JD's going to be so pissed that we're talking about Highlander. Then he's not here to watch. I'm sorry.
Well, he should have, thought about that before he decided to kill John,
See, I wouldn't change anything except put it in the John Wick universe.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be very interesting.
Well, speaking of things that are interesting or disgust us or are crazy, let's do a little social media madness.
I was going to say. You're talking about our Twitter feed, apparently.
So we had talked about Jonathan Majors being cast as Kang the Conqueror in the MCU.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear the word Kang, I keep in my head, it keeps coming out as Krang.
To which George Mitchell said, if he's going to be Kang, in which he would be amazing in the role, then Marvel should hire Jeffrey Wright to play Reed Richards. Majors as Ramatut, Immortus, Iron Lad. If he's going to play all those roles, he must have a really, really good agent. Well, I mean, let's be honest. It's the MCU. We're going to get Kang, but the MCU version of Kang, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah, because Kang in the comics sometimes just doesn't even say nothing, just appears and just fucking stares. But yeah, he's right though. He does have those other personas. He's known by many names and images. So yeah, I bet him having range, that works for me. He plays Jim Brown in a movie. And I live near Cleveland, so I'm a Browns fan. Sports reference on a superhero show. I'm sure that's going to work. But nonetheless, I think it's cool. It's a cool idea. I've got a lot of questions though. I thought he'd be a bigger baddie, Thanos level. So I'm kind of interested. Why is he in an Ant-Man trilogy? But I don't know. Maybe we'll just see him and he'll be bigger, but I don't know. He could definitely do it. He's got the face for it. It reminds me a lot about Kang. And yeah, he's literally going to have Kang sometimes doesn't say nothing. So if he needs other personalities, that's absolutely something the character they could use. But it is the MCU, so it's probably going to be a little bit simpler.
Right. And then Shadow Walker 1, a repeat offender here, like Marvel to declare Scarlet Centurion, Ramatut, Immortus, Kang all exist in multiple timelines and are all the same in every one. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know how much they're going to play on the multiple timelines thing.
Yeah, because it goes over smooth every time, so I'm sure they're going to go to that wheel. Well, we got to cool down from Endgame, my guy.
Yes. And of course, moving on, we talked about the WandaVision trailer, and Azrael the 9th? No, 13th, sorry. Azrael 13 said it's totally her, talking about, what's-her-face playing Wanda.
The Olsen twin, the youngest Olsen twin?
Yes. And James is angry, says he's very excited about WandaVision. You've obviously seen the trailer at this point. What did you think, Don?
Oh, I'm excited for the House of M implications, whether that be something they deal with. And I know you guys talked about it, so I'm not going to belabor that, but that is very intriguing to me, obviously.
I was watching a breakdown of the trailer, and someone pointed out a couple things now that are like, ooh, wait a minute. And one of the things was the wine bottle you see being poured. It's kind of floating in one of the scenes. The M is the same as the House of M from.
Oh, the wine bottle is literally named House of M.
Oh, is it? Okay.
In French? Yeah, it's literally named House of M in French.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Well, I had planned to watch that a couple more times, but I didn't catch that yet. All right.
There are so many Easter eggs in that trailer.
Yeah. And they also pointed out after you see Monica Rambeau get shot out of where the bubble, and you see her land, her eyes flutter, and she looks over, and you see a group of agents walking up to her.
Yeah.
If you look closely, Monica Rambeau's in the group of agents. So, was the Monica Rambeau that was shot out of Wanda's little bubble not actually Monica, but a shape-shifting villain that JD talked about last week?
Well, with Skrulls around.
Skrulls?
Not Skrulls. Someone bigger and darker.
Oh yeah, because you saw the cosmic shit in her face.
See, no. You're going.
No, way too
direction.
deep.
Okay.
Who are you talking about?
Agatha Harkness, we know, is in the show.
Oh yeah. Oh, what's his name? Damn
Morpheus.
it. Morpheus.
No, I'm sorry, Mephisto.
Not Morpheus. Yeah. I keep thinking of.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get. Okay, I got but that does make sense. Wow, if they really go for that, that's really crazy comic booky. What did JD call it last week? Like comic book BS.
Yeah.
So yeah, because in the comic series, he's like the father of the two twins. So
right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. It's shaping up.
One of the many different explanations for the twins.
Yeah.
You know. The history of the twins, how they came to be, is about as clear as where the Joker came from. So,
yeah.
And Town Wap, who's at That One Nerd With, said, honestly, it looks great. Hope it gets the numbers it deserves. It was really sad about New Mutants. It's really good. Definitely deserves good ratings.
Damn right.
You saw New Mutants?
I absolutely did. Went into the theater, was delighted and horrified. There was only 20 cars at the theater and only 4 other people in the actual theater we went into.
Wow.
But, I was like, okay, I feel safe here. And watched it, and I did enjoy it. I really did. It has an interesting premise. It's a cool one-off. So I do not get the hate at all. I do not.
Huh.
I've read a lot about. I'm not sure I want to see it. If it hadn't been for COVID, I probably would have, gone to the theater. But at this point, I think I'm going to wait because there is a lot of. It's kind of like the end is just another, Scott Snyder special. So, I don't know. I'll definitely watch it when it comes on demand. But, probably while I'm folding laundry or something. Zack Snyder. Yeah, Scott Snyder. Yeah, Scott Snyder, right. No, Zack Snyder. Yeah, it's another one of those, like, kind of, everybody that I've listened to on YouTube, and I follow a bunch of people, usually, people who, like, have different opinions about the same movies. But they all seem to say they're all saying the same thing about this, which is kind of like, it's definitely a casualty of having been in the oven too long.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
But if you like it, again, like critics say that stuff, and then you'll see the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes of 37, and you'll see the audience score of 60. So,
Yeah, and where I'm not a critic, where I fail as a critic, is I guess I'm easily razzle-dazzled, because say what you will, I got to see Liliana Rasputin use her soul sword against a big fucking demon bear, and it made sense.
Okay, all right. See, that's why I'll watch it. If it
you are easily amused.
I am.
All right, and
that's cool.
let's move on. We talked about the Wonder Woman being delayed until Christmas time. And I asked if people were still excited to see the movie, to which Diana Lanham, Lanham, she's at House of Agia on Twitter, which she replied to, yes. You'll get the idea. It goes on.
Wow.
Shouldn't be so wishy-washy there.
Yeah.
Patrick, who's at Crichton 2x4s, said it's probably going to end up on HBO Max because we'll never get theaters back.
Well, what did they do to us? Why do we need to get theaters back? They didn't do anything with us.
Oh, the dad jokes are flowing. And then Shadow Walker 1 replied, it will probably be moved to direct video on cable and DCD and N, because that is the trend now. So this is something obviously we've talked about many times on the show. People don't seem to understand these tentpole movies they need to make maximum profit on so they can continue making the tentpole movies.
Yeah.
Like, the studios count on these movies to do well, so they have to go in the theater. So we shall see.
It's weird that theaters are still like struggling. I mean, it's not weird. Obviously, I know why, but I swear when it comes to restaurants or any sort of other gathering, like, I don't know, to me it seems full friggin' force. So I do not quite understand why theaters are like the last thing to quote unquote open up per se. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're opening with social distancing, so, but I mean, that's the thing too. It's weird because like that, you're greatly limiting the capacity for the people who are going, so they're not going to make anywhere near the profit they were. So I don't know. Yeah.
I'm also a hermit, so I do want them to just release them on Disney Plus. That way I can review stuff for my podcast without leaving the house. That would be great. Thank you.
And in the comfort of your own couch.
Yes.
You know, with real popcorn that doesn't have plastic as a syrup.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for Social Media Madness for the week. And here's our good friend D Square to tell you how you can get more Social Media Madness.
Enjoying the show? Want to be part of Social Media Madness? Make sure you are following superheroespeak.com, where you can find all of the show's social media links at the top of the page. While you're there, you can check out old episodes of the podcast as well as some other great content. Check the site often because we are posting some great comic reviews as well as comic book and movie news content every day. Make sure and follow us on Twitter at SuperheroSpeak. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. You can follow them at @stars_geek. The Geek World All-Star Podcast Network include great programs such as the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Cult 45, So Wizard, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Search for #GWAllStars. You will not be disappointed. Now it's back to Dave and the boys on Superhero Speak.
I was waiting for you to do it live, Don. All right.
I'm sorry about that.
Don, while you're here, why don't you tell people where they can find the House of D podcast?
Well, you can actually, and I always hate to correct you, but I know I change it a lot. So we're actually the Omega Level Nerds podcast now on the House of D YouTube. See, I know why I know what's going on here though. But actually we do it live on Twitch now, 9:30s on a Sunday night. So if you go to twitch.tv/Omega Level Nerds, that's where you'll see our podcast live. And then after that, YouTube and where you find all other podcasts. But make sure you go check out the Geek World All-Stars podcast. I got some good stuff there. My good buddy 8-Bit Ray, which we need to line up another debate or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like we need a round two because of he's not completely wrong, but he is, and that's just I mean,
he's currently foaming at the mouth right now.
You know what, though? It could swing the other way wildly. Believe me, I'm mad. Colossus is in jail right now in the comics, and for not a good fucking reason. I made a YouTube about it, and I do have a campaign, #Free Colossus, and Beast is a bastard. So, believe me, I'm not all happy about what's going on.
#Free Colossus, I love it. All right. Hey, are you guys on Amazon Music?
I don't know. Honestly, we're on a lot of places. I don't even know how we're there. Because I literally just uploaded to Podbean, that goes to Apple, and then...
Yeah, they automatically share out the places. Well, if you're not sure, everyone who's listening, go and check if Omega Level Nerds is on Amazon Music, and we're available there now too, so subscribe to us while you're there. And on that note, boys and girls, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, we're back, and it is time for the news. And we actually have some good news this week, guys.
In 2020, it's a trick.
Well, good news for stuff that's happening in the future. You know?
Basically 2021.
That's the only good news we get in 2020 is the future. Later, not now.
So, we have a Hawkman who has been cast for the Black Adam movie.
That is actually really great fucking news, honestly.
Who will be playing opposite The Rock in their version of This Society. And it is Aldis Hodge. I haven't seen anything he's in. I believe he was the star of the Invisible Man movie that came out last year, which I heard was a very creepy movie. Other than that, I don't know anything about this guy. Have you guys seen him in anything?
Not to my knowledge.
Actually, I think I messed up. I think he is actually the one that plays Jim Brown, not the guy for King. But I've never seen it. I've only read about it. But I look at it and I see Hawkman. I mean, right? Hawkman is in Egyptian lore, and so that looks more accurate to the part.
Hey, look, he's been in The Invisible Man and not much Medal of Honor, Star Trek shorts. Oh, he was in Black Mirror, so there you go.
Yes, he was in an episode of Black Mirror, that I know, but again,
what is truly exciting about this is it's just more confirmation. I mean, no, it's been confirmed, but I like to hear more about this Justice Society movie.
But not even that. Like, we've been joking around about how The Rock has been talking about this movie for like a decade now.
Yeah.
And this just shows they actually are moving forward and working on it at this point. Yeah. No, that's cool. So we look forward to more news and hopefully a preview before we know it. Moving on, of course, we all know that the Suicide Squad is coming out next year. And
yet another Suicide Squad.
No, this is the Suicide Squad, not to be confused with Suicide Squad.
Right.
Because apparently they decided that's a good way to differentiate them.
I mean, it works for Microsoft, right? We got the Xbox and the Xbox One. So, I mean.
No, it's not. In fact, I have friends who work for GameStop who are like, yeah, people come in confused all the time because now it's the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X. And so it's.
I'm done buying Xboxes because of it. I'm going full blown PlayStation. Which one do I want? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Easy peasy.
But apparently, John Cena, who is playing the Peacemaker, which is something that I know JD and I are very excited about because it's a douchebag Captain America, basically, is getting his own spin-off series that is going to be on HBO Max.
They're really betting a farm on all of this. Like that. I would think they would do that maybe after the movie came out with him in it, because they have at least some feedback. But they're So
the background on this is with the director's name. Come on, he was fired from Marvel and now he's back with Marvel.
Jeff Johns? No,
Jeff Johns is.
He's the guy. Come on, why can't I think of the director of this movie? James Gunn.
James Gunn.
There you go, yeah.
Another J. Right, I was close.
There you go. You were very close. Wow. Brain fart. Anyway, James Gunn wrote the series, I put together the series while he was in lockdown for COVID because he had nothing else to do. So that's where this came from. And I guess the powers that be at Warner Brothers and HBO Max were like, wow, this is good. Let's do it. And, John Cena is always looking for work. So
and DC wants to have wrestlers as superheroes.
Apparently, The Rock, John Cena. Next, you're going to have Hulk Hogan come back or something. So Don, are you excited for a Peacemaker TV
series? No, and it's kind of for a weird reason, but I'm totally not excited about John Cena as the Peacemaker. Although I respect the comic accuracy of that dumb looking suit that they're going to make him wear, but I'm just surprised they're going to now make him do that through a whole show. But anyway, I'm disappointed because if they're going to make him a douche, they should make him Guy Gardner Green Lantern. They want to give him a show. So that's a dumb reason not to like this, but I really don't, because it means I'm never going to get a Guy Gardner played by John Cena with a bowl cut. And I really wanted that.
That is a great idea. Cause let's face it, Marvel is the only one out of Marvel and DC right now. Marvel's the only one that can take like an unknown group like Guardians of the Galaxy and say, we're going to make them a mega movie about this. And people are like, oh, I've never heard of it. What is it? And when it comes out, everybody's like, oh, this is awesome. This is DC. And nobody's really heard of, like, I had to look up Peacemaker. I think I barely remember ever having come across him in all my collecting. And it's just, and John Cena's like, John Cena's okay. I don't know if he's good enough to breathe life into a character that nobody's really interested in anyway and has a really bad backstory and all that. Like, if you gave him a really good backstory and had good writing, like you were saying, like Guy Gardner has like an amazing story arc that you could mine for years. If you did that, you'd have a chance. I don't know if this has a chance.
That's a good question, because I don't know how stuff on these services, these streaming services, gets ranked anyway. Like it. Well, like they always talk about how Netflix keeps the numbers close to the vest, so you'll never know, unless it's a huge success, you'll never know how many people are actually watching it.
And you never know. This could be Warner Brothers really just trying to get James Gunn away from Marvel. So if he wants to do something, they're like, hey, no problem. You wrote a series about this guy? Okay, hey, whatever, no problem. If this is what you want to do. As long as we get our Suicide Squad 3, or whatever the hell they're going to call it. They'll do the Naked Gun. It'll be Suicide 33 the third.
I got it. The title for the third one will be Suicide Squad.
Right.
Wait, you think this is like Sony and Spider-Man, where they can keep them under contract so long as they have them do a movie every year or two?
Yeah, no, he's already got a contract to do Guardians 3. I don't think.
Well.
Yeah, they're not going to snake him away that soon, but I'm sure they would love to make that his last go-round on the Marvel side.
Yeah.
The Guardians of the Galaxy thing, though, the heat death of the universe wasn't going to prevent him from doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's, I have no idea. I also thought it was interesting. They were asking questions about this in an interview when it was announced, and James Gunn's like, well, I'm not going to even reveal what time this takes place in, because I don't want to give away spoilers that might ruin the Suicide Squad. So, so he's not revealing if it takes place before or after, so you don't know if his character dies in the movie.
Well, damn it! I can't speculate more now if he's not going to give us little details to go over.
It's also one of those things where, and we've talked about this too, where like people don't seem as interested in the Black Widow movie because we already know she's dead. Unless they are somehow secretly setting up to bring her back with this movie, which is doubtful. So people get less excited to go see that movie. So if his character dies in the Suicide Squad, is that going to make you less excited to see a show about him? Probably, I would think. So
yeah.
We'll see when the Black Widow movie comes out.
Yes. And speaking of HBO Max, damn you for not being here, JD. This was something you swore wasn't going to happen. You said they're only recutting footage they've already done. They won't be doing reshoots for the Snyder Cut Justice League to start in October. Wow. Apparently, Ray Fisher and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill were initially reported to be coming back for reshoots. Apparently, Henry Cavill has come out and said they don't need him for reshoots at this point, so he's not planning to do any reshoots.
I was going to say, because then they're going to have to CGI both a mustache and a beard off of him.
Oh, speaking of that, sorry, sidetrack. I saw you're using the deep fake technology.
Yep.
On YouTube, and they took that scene from Justice League where he's talking in the beginning and redid it as a deep fake, and it looks 1,000 times better than the CGI.
Wow.
And I'm like, seriously, some guy with a home computer made that movie look better. Like, what is wrong with these people? So anyway, Don, we don't know your take is. Are you excited for the Snyder Cut at all?
No, not at all. This is $70 million spent to shine up a turd. How many people lost their jobs recently over there at DC? So I don't get it. I don't get why all the resources are being thrown into a movie that is a sequel to two movies that people didn't like. So I no, I'm sorry. I don't understand the logic here. I don't understand why the Snyder Cut is supposed to be so much better.
It's a loss leader. It's a loss leader for HBO.
Because right, people hate. I don't, by the way, but people hate Man of Steel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was horrible.
And we still hate Batman v Superman, right?
Yeah,
we all
Martha,
still hate that.
Right? Yeah, we all hate that still. Huh?
So what? And this is what happened to Star Wars, right? The last trilogy came out. I'm not trying to take shots at you, John. The last trilogy came out, and what happened? Everybody that hated on the prequel trilogy was now applauding the prequel trilogy. So
I know, right?
Whedon's Justice League comes out, and now all of a sudden we really want to see what happens in the world of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, even though we've collectively talked shit about it for like half a decade. So I don't understand. That's my take.
So one of two things is going to happen. This is going to come out and it's going to be better, and people are going to be like, oh wow, this was genius. Or they're going to go, wow, that Whedon cut was so much better.
It's not going to be genius though, because it's Zack Snyder. He doesn't have the ability to string a good story together.
Here's the thing. I agree with you. I do not disagree with you, but I also agree with the concept of this was his vision from the beginning. We should get to see what his vision actually was.
Well, again, like we shouldn't have to, but I still think that this is a loss leader where they're using this to generate money for HBO Max. They're using it. All this stuff is just, they're throwing a bunch of new content onto HBO Max because in the end, getting people to sign up the first time is statistically going to make them more money than they're going to lose on these movies in the long run.
Right.
Because they'll make more money on the subscriptions.
Probably.
But mark my words, they're going to do this. And they're not. So the people that complain about this sort of thing on the internet can make powerful things happen. Look what they did to Sonic. So there is this perceived power, but those same people don't always actually support the thing that they're complaining about. It happens in comics all the time.
Oh yeah.
So I'm predicting that's going to happen. They're going to go through all this because they got all this. So where's the Zack Snyder cut? Every press conference, hey, Zack Snyder, where's the Zack Snyder cut? So this group of people has been able to present itself as a majority. They're going to spend all this money, and they're going to be like, why? To please 10,000 people.
How kind of you to call them people.
Well, I'm always kind.
They're going to compare it to the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
I still have hope. Not that it's going to be a brilliant film, but it's going to be better than the one we got.
Well, they have the benefit of hindsight, and so Darkseid helps. That's cool. He's still a big gray monster, but all right, it's Darkseid. Steppenwolf looked cooler, little pointier, a little shinier.
They had more time to let the CGI bake.
Yeah. And I am pumped about mullet black suit Superman. I am, and I do agree with Volsker, my brother. I do like Batfleck, but we're getting him in Flashpoint, so we'll get to see him again.
Yeah. Yes, we will.
I'll watch the darn thing. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be like, okay, cool. Glad you fired all those writers because we got Snyder cut.
Well. Speaking of people being fired, Supergirl will be ending after the next season. So I guess that's what, season 7 or 6? Season 6.
Season 6. Yeah, they blew everything in the Crossworlds. Like the final, whatever, the big thing that
Crisis
they did.
on Infinite Earth.
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite. They blew everything on that. And COVID was like a brick wall. The entire momentum they got off of that hit the brick wall known as COVID. And, I don't think this is going to be the only one that's going to go down.
Honestly, I think there's more to it than that. Because they cite the bad ratings, but yet.
Well, and Melissa Benoist she's having her kid.
She
right?
just had her kid a couple days ago. So hold on. I was going to get that in a second. So they cite the bad ratings, but yet, from my understanding, Batwoman and Legends have worse ratings than Supergirl did. And come on, we've complained about Supergirl from the beginning. She broke the cable. She broke the neck of a cable to stop it from sparking.
The writing's gotten better since then. I mean, the first 2 seasons were not great. The writing got a little bit better, but it was still choppy, So, and there was too much CW in these CW shows.
My guess is...
You could say that again.
My guess is this was probably renegotiation time, and, they talked about everything, and they probably gave her an option. Like, hey, do you want to end the show or do you want to keep going because she had the baby? That's my guess, and I think she decided, you know what? I want to go and spend time with my baby, so maybe it is time to end the show.
Don't forget that they're also that CW also inherited Swamp Thing now. So
I was going to say, but the other thing is they're getting Swamp Thing and they're getting a new Superman show.
Yep.
So
Supergirl's kind of superfluous considering you've got Superman.
So we actually had shared the article on our Twitter feed and we got some instant response. We don't normally do this, but Random Ratty Savage, our good friend from Cult 45 podcast, said, Legends though. Anthony Bourne said, I'm not surprised by this news, as the 12th Doctor says, this is where it ends. Mauricio RMC said, I think it's a mixture of factors that came together to decide this. Yeah, I agree with that. Ucho Dure Parlay Hour. Those guys said once they announced Superman and Lois, this was on borrowed time. And Shadow Walker said, you do know another reason is the actress is a mom now and wants to spend time with her child, hence why the show ending. Yes, again, we just mentioned that. So.
The article mentioned it also.
Yes, so
then the net of this is that CW's, even with that one leaving, even if they have another one leaving, they're still going to wind up with 2 more DC shows than they started with.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole thing. And we'll see what happens with Batwoman, because whenever you replace a lead character in a show, and this is already the worst rated show, we'll see. It's either going to make it, she's either going to be 1,000 times better than Ruby Rose and the ratings could jump up, or...
See, I don't understand that, because Batgirl or Batwoman was written much better than some of the other shows, and it had a lot less of the cringy teenage angst stuff that they were injecting into some of the shows. Arrow ended when it should have. But that one had legs. I don't know why. I have no idea. I don't want to say it, but I think it's because it dealt with a lot of lesbian or LGBTQ themes, and it makes a lot of people because the writing was good.
I heard one person
compared to some of the others. Yeah,
I heard one person criticize it as it was a show about her and her having a lesbian relationship with superhero stuff tacked on, and they kind of feel like it should have been a show about her being a superhero with that stuff tacked on. So
That can be a whole nother topic, Dave. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I watched the first couple episodes and I watched the crossover episode. It just didn't, I don't know why, it just didn't appeal to me. It felt like it was trying to be a Batman show without being Batman. And I'm like, why are you doing this? If you want Batman, just do Batman, you know? But that's, you know, neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know. What's in Batman's contract that he can't actually have a live action show anymore?
I don't know, because now we're getting Superman, so...
Like, yeah.
But, I mean, Bruce is the billionaire, so he knows how to negotiate.
I guess so. He's got good lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I had other... To me, it was... To me, a lot of it was predictable and plotting as well.
Yeah.
You know, the main villain was her sister and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I see where this is all going. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see.
It didn't suck. I mean, I watched it because, you know, watching Crisis on Infinite.
No, it didn't suck, but it also, there's so much on right now, too, to competing with it.
Oh,
I also kind of feel like more and more people want to binge stuff.
They do. In fact, my wife is one of those people because I watch very little, anything outside of a video game, comic book, you know, sure, comic book movie. I don't spend a whole lot of time just watching a show. I don't. But when I do, yeah, it's going to be like me and my wife started watching The Boys. We're only through 4 episodes. But we actually, you know, like we kind of get in a tussle because after 2 episodes of that dark world where there's no justice, where Homelander gets whatever the fuck he wants. Again, I'm only on episode number 4. But boy, do I want him to die in some horrible fashion. But that's just, it's heavy on me. That pisses me off.
Right.
And it's like the first scene of the show, the guy just runs, A-Train just runs right through the dude's girlfriend. And I remember like, wait a minute, is she actually exploding all over him? Like, what the?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I can't binge that. I can't binge darkness, but I don't know. Everyone else wants to, and yeah, my wife's like, I don't want to stop watching it. I'm like, but it's just enough.
Well, you can binge it. It's just that you can't go with the bottom shelf stuff. You gotta get top shelf like Woodford Reserve whiskey, you know.
Yeah.
And it's some. Yeah, and I agree. But on the other side, like people want to binge stuff, and you know that worked great for a little bit, but now all these streaming services are saying like, we're gonna put out 1 episode every week again.
You want to hear something? Amazon wanted them to put The Boys out all at once, and the creators of the show wanted to do it weekly because their argument was when you put it all at once, you get all this buzz for like a few days after it's released, or maybe even a week or a month after, and then it just goes away.
And this is true.
So their argument is if you have to watch it week to week, it keeps the buzz going. You know,
you have the water cooler moments.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know.
Whatever the hell we call that now in 2020.
Socially distanced moments.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping they breathe new life into Batwoman this season. We'll see. Moving on, let's go across the aisle. We got 2 Marvel-related stories. The first one is, speaking of new shows that we get to binge, maybe, but Disney Plus has been releasing stuff weekly. Samuel Jackson will be heading up a Nick Fury show for not HBO Max, Disney Plus.
Holy shit.
Yeah, now that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. Yeah, so I don't know any details. I think it was just announced that he's going to do the show, and you know, they just talk about the characters. Nothing about details of like, will this take place after Endgame? Is this going to be intermixed? You know, they're saying sometime in hopefully 2021, but I doubt that at this point.
Yeah.
So are we excited to see Sam Jackson keep the eye patch on for a little longer in a Nick Fury TV show? John?
Yeah. You know, I'd like to see Coulson come back too, but
he's dead.
No, he's a life model decoy now. He died, and then he was spoilers, and then he was his consciousness was transferred into a life model decoy. So now he's running around again. Just not, you know. But There's only one issue I can see with this, and that is Samuel Jackson is freak 71 years old.
It looks good.
He does look good, but he's 71 years old. There's only so much longer he can do this. Like, if he can do Nick Fury for the Marvel Universe because he's the one giving orders and stuff, and okay, he'll shoot a gun, duck around a corner or something like that. But with his own show as him as the lead, he's he's not gonna. You can't tell us that somebody his age is going to be like doing flips and running after perps or supers or being able to be struck by a super without any internal damage. It's gonna be. That's what
special effects are for.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, unless the special effect is to de-age them with CGI in every episode, which they could do. They are Marvel. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I want to see him. I just don't know how they're going to get around his age at this point. Because Nick Fury's supposed to be a dynamic character,
Yeah, no, that's true. Unless they're
not going to have him rappelling out of a helicopter.
I mean, unless they give him like a young agent to play off.
They'll need a protege, yes. Yeah.
What about you, Don?
I feel real bad to say this, but I don't care at all.
You know what? I have to reevaluate our friendship.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
But you've got the X-Men hanging out there. I want him to still be around. I want him to be behind a desk or be like, God damn it, Cyclops, you didn't run this by S.H.I.E.L.D., all that. But a whole show, I want something more. That's all.
So let's propose this. Ready? WandaVision kicks off an event that creates mutants in the MCU.
Okay.
So haphazardly mutants now appear in the MCU, and we don't have Magneto and Xavier. We have Nick Fury trying to go around recruiting some of these new heroes.
That still comes back down to the problem of he's a 71-year-old dude, and he's not going to be.
Right. I'm just trying to make it exciting for Don.
You're going to replace a bald white guy with a black white bald guy, which to go gather. Okay. You know what? Hey, listen, I'm all for diversity, but no, truth be told, I would hate that. That would be absolutely. I would boycott the MCU at that point. That's what they did.
Although if they have Samuel Jackson do any kind of like physical exertion and he breaks the hip, he'll be in a wheelchair too. So you'll have bald guys in wheelchairs.
Right. See? Right. There you go. It's all coming together.
So you're adjusting the levels of melanin in skin. Okay, great.
Oh God.
And taking one eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him the Michael Jackson treatment.
Boy. I mean, but you know what? Anything could go, because I'll tell you, spoiler alert, with the stuff that's going on with Mutant the comic book now, and basically they've established that the externals are the first mutants, and the mutants come from them. Like, I don't know, they might offshoot of stuff, because that's in the comics, and they're not going to put stuff in the comics nowadays that completely goes against what's in the MCU. So they're going to have a weird origin, though. So I'm strapping in.
Mutants aren't from, like, I thought.
They're not like the children of the atom anymore. It's been established, again, last issue, that Apocalypse is not the first mutant, but he is the first mutant of the second generation of mutants. So, all right, I'll get out of the rabbit hole real quick here for you.
Yeah, that's deep rabbit hole. Yes.
Well, I don't know. I'm excited at the possibility. I'll have to wait till we see some footage and we get an idea of where this fits it. But we'll see, because I'll watch anything Marvel at this point. Speaking of watching things that are Marvel, we're going to have to wait now, guys, for movies. So Marvel has announced all of their movies are being pushed back to 2021. So Black Widow will be released May 7th, 2021. What is it? Eternals will be November 5th. 2021, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be July 9th, 2021. Which goes back to my initial point about tentpole movies and then wanting them in the theater to make sure that they make the most profit. so that the studios can reap the profit to keep making the tentpole movie. So how do you guys feel about this? Are you surprised? Are you sad? Are you going to boycott all things Marvel now, Don?
Only if they replace Professor X with Nick Fury. Unless they go back to the Hasselhoff version, then I'll be like, okay. Yeah, I guess I was not correctly ascertaining where they were in the production of these movies. It really seemed like Black Widow was done, ready to come out. So is it that the production really did halt to the point where they can't release it, or
no, is
it because they look at because it's not going to make no money?
Right, they looked at the performance of Tenet and they were like, yeah, we're going to wait a little longer.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it does. I mean there's no other way around it. I'm actually kind of surprised that DC hasn't capitalized on this a little bit more. Like them being the rush to get the first movies out just to do it, just to be the ones to do it. But yeah, what are you going to do? 2020 is going to be that lost year. If we're lucky, it'll just be one lost year.
Well, I think what you do is you announce, if you're DC, you announce you're releasing Wonder Woman May 1st, 2021. 1 week before Black Widow.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Although I don't know, Wonder Woman, I actually think they would benefit. They would benefit by releasing that on a streaming platform, because I think with Wonder Woman you can make a shit ton of money on the merchandising, and with Christmas coming up, although it's not going to be the traditional holiday season for sure. I don't know. I feel if they release that one, yeah, it might not increase the number of subscribers to the streaming service, but it would get it out there. It would be popular with the kids because that's a new superhero movie they saw. So they'll go buy the t-shirts and the toys and the Happy Meals and all that shit.
Yeah.
But that could be just me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But again, I am an advocate of just release them on streaming so I don't have to go to theater. So take that into consideration.
John, are you sad that you have to wait for your Black Widow Happy Meal?
I'm sad about Black Widow and Shang-Chi. I'm on the fence about Eternals, but I was really looking forward to Shang-Chi, and I'm really, really curious as to what the ending of the Black Widow movie is going to be.
Yes, yeah. I have a feeling it reveals something that does affect Phase 4, and they're just not saying it.
Right. That's my bet.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the news for the week. And our discussion topic for the week is, we had promised our fans, we talked about this on social media, we are going to discuss Batman, The Killing Joke. 1988, Alan Moore, Brian Boland, considered a classic with some controversies around it. We'll get into all of that. But I would like to know from each of you, when did you first discover The Killing Joke? When did you first find it, and when did you first read it? And we'll start with our guest host, Don.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, when I kind of started getting back into comics, because they've of course released. I was only 8 years old, and so it wasn't something I picked up right when it came out. But definitely, it is a very, very influential classic. So it's something that I knew about, and when I got really hardcore back into comics, it was something I picked up and read for sure. So, but it was about 10 years ago.
Cool. How about you, John?
Probably 1991.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was really collecting then, and I started picking up back issues of stuff. I mean, I'd started at the end of 1988, so I think I might have gotten it then too. It's been a while. But I've known about it since it came out. I was not too couched in the backstories of all the characters at that time, and the mythos of Batman and the Joker. So I probably didn't get as much out of it as I got rereading it, again over the last 30 years. Jesus, I'm old. But I did like it at the time. It was different from everything else that was coming out. That was for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was 14 when it came out. The probably prime age for this book. But it was also one of those books that like spread like the word of mouth spread like wildfire. And I don't know if you remember this, John, but you couldn't, I want to say from 88 to 95 at least, you couldn't walk into a comic book store without it being hung on the wall, the first run, with a $35 to $50 price tag slapped on it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up originally getting a third printing of it because I wanted to read it because everyone was talking about it. So I was probably 15 or 16. I would think I was 15. I'm pretty sure I was sophomore in high school. And like, everyone was talking about this book, so I had to get it, and I bought the third printing, and then eventually, I'd come across a first printing that was only $20. So I ended up buying it just so I could have it in my collection because, the 90s, and it was like, oh, you got to be cool and have the valuable books in your collection. So yeah, I ended up buying it. My initial thing when I read it was like shock because I hadn't read such an adult story yet at that point. And I was just like, wow, they're really doing this in a Batman story. What was your initial reaction, Don?
My initial reaction was, are Batman and Joker really sitting there joking with each other about how each of them are fucked up? And this was after he shot Barbara Gordon, paralyzed her, and made Jim Gordon look at her naked pictures while going through a roller coaster. And I think he was high on drugs. Joker drugged him to do it. I was like, wow, okay. So, yeah, I couldn't believe what I read. I really couldn't. And just to have Batman and Joker, like, sitting at the end, yucking it up. Like, boy, we're really screwed up.
How about you, John?
Well, I was on my own already at that point, so like didn't have to worry about the parents finding out that I was reading something like that. And at that point, it kind of came as a shock to me because I forget like the late 80s. I mean, the stuff I'd read before that, when you buy something in a bookstore or something, because they used to sell comic books to the friends of bookstores. Yeah. But everything you read before, again, it's like you said, it's kind of a shock. It's like, I don't remember ever reading a comic book before that had like, naked pictures in it and, just out and out murder and torture. And so that was a real, that was a real expansion of my ideas of what was possible and the human condition at that point.
So real quick before we move on, I want to mention a couple things. Number one, it's important to remember, people, this was not meant to be an in-continuity story. It was meant to be a side story that Alan Moore wrote, and it was revealed years later that this was meant to be the last Joker story. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's funny because, John, you mentioned the lore between Batman and Joker, and I think that's an important thing is, a lot of people don't realize you don't get to this story if you don't go 10 years prior, 13 years prior, with Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams and doing, Revenge 5 Ways, which is the Joker story that brought Joker back into the books. He had been gone for a long time in the books, and he had become a for lack of a better term, a joke. He wasn't taken seriously as a villain at that point.
Well, Batman 1966 TV series saw to that too.
Exactly. Like there was the 66 TV series. I mean, I don't know if people know the story about that. They were going to cancel Batman in the 60s, the book. And then the show came out. The show was so popular, the book started selling again.
But it was campy. It was nothing like it was today.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, like, I think it's important to notice that, like, you don't get to The Killing Joke and having a villain like the Joker is by the point you get there without Denny O'Neil writing a great story to bring him back and make him a menacing villain again. So, just it's always important to know your comic history, people. So
absolutely, and now it's available on Wikipedia. So,
well, yeah, that's true too.
It's not even hard anymore.
So So I want to get a little bit. I mean, we talked about the nude pictures, which it's not.
I mean, yeah, there's no real. It's not real nudity, but the implications are fairly heavy.
So I want to get into, and of course this was not meant to be in continuity, but the story was so popular, DC's like, all right, we got to integrate pieces of this. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, this book was controversial when it came out, but not because of the Barbara Gordon stuff. Like, that was talked about. But the main thing that was so controversial about this book, Don, you wouldn't remember because, again, you were little and weren't aware of the book probably at this point. But, John, do you remember the conversation around the book? One of the big controversies was they gave Joker an origin. Well,
they implied an origin, but it's, what do they call that trope? The narrator isn't, you can't trust the narrator.
Right, which is what they kind of use for the Joker movie as well. Yeah.
Right, but they said even Alan Moore even had him say it changes every time I remember. So like what they described in that book is an origin story, but if I'm sure if Alan Moore had written it, like had him remember back again, and it would have changed. Because the implication is that Joker's still insane. This may or may not have happened. There may have been a kernel of truth in it, but nobody knows.
Right. And what's the other aspect of the origin story that they give us that you never thought about before until Alan Moore said it, and then they reiterated in the 1989 movie, the movie that came out a year later, that Batman was partially responsible for Joker's origin.
Oh, yeah. The unreliable narrator, that's it.
Which is so frustrating because the movie took it a step further and made Jack Napier the person that killed Bruce Wayne's parents. So
yeah,
you flash forward to now, and now there's 3 Jokers, and all this multiverse stuff, and
right.
Oh, it's Joker, death metal, Joker war, Joker.
Yeah. Well, no, there's literally 3 Jokers now. Like
yes.
I'm like not just the weird ones.
We learned that.
The Killing Joke Joker is one of the Jokers that they're fighting right now, I think, or just did.
So
Joker universe.
Yeah.
The Joker universe. So and that's another thing I want to point out too, right? Like, obviously it's Batman the Killing Joke, and it's considered one of the greatest Batman stories, but
he's not the hero of this book.
Thank you. This is a Joker book. So just like Kraven's Last Hunt that we talked about last week, here's another book where the villain is the main character of the story.
Which is fine.
Is it? Now wait a minute. You were upset about Spider-Man not being greatly involved with last week's story, but you're fine with the Joker being the main character.
Not upset, but like I said, the beginning of that one, I don't want to rehash it, but the beginning of that one was kind of unmoored and just, it was hard to find purchase coming into that one cold. And I'm still not sure that's because I'm a DC person and not like a Spider-Man person or a Marvel person. And like, it just starts kind of weird, and it doesn't give you a hard set of rules in the beginning. You're just like following this guy who seems to be on drugs, a lot of drugs.
Yes.
But Joker is so ingrained in popular culture consciousness that when you go into the story, you know where you are. It's the Joker. He's insane. He murders people for no reason whatsoever in creative ways. So yeah, and this is Alan Moore. So what better person to write a story about an insane villain than an insane villain?
Well, yeah, and it's like, and just in case you weren't aware, we're going to have Joker be on a throne that's on top of a bunch of baby doll parts that look creepy as hell. Like, that's the most striking image to me. And, of course, Jim Gordon is in front of him, strapped up.
So I'm going to, so that was going to be my next question. Which one of your favorite aspects of the book? And I'm going to say Brian Boland's art. The art in this book, not just the art, but the way that it's used to tell the story, it is brilliant in this book. Like there's all this like subtle stuff, like the image that ends one page where you have a flashback. They mirror that image on the next page. Like there's a scene where Joker, before in the flashback, is sitting there and he's got his arms crossed in front of him, and we flash to what's going on in the circus, and Gordon's got his arms crossed in front of him, you know. And the book is mirrored in the beginning with the rainfall, and it ends with it raining. You know, there's artistically is very well done. It's spot on. Like, this is one of the reasons you love comic books, is the way that the art is done in this book.
Well, this wouldn't have had as much impact as it did with it except for the artistic design of some of those panels. Like it reaches out and grabs it, especially like that one panel with Joker with the hands in his hair and just staring at you with it complete and utter insanity. Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, that is like an iconic panel.
Oh yeah, it's been reused many times. So, what's one of your favorite aspects of the book, John? I know it's a tough question with a book like this. Yeah.
And it's quick too. I read it again this afternoon, and it's a lot shorter than I remember. Mm-hmm. So, it's like they could have expanded it more. I don't know if they were against some kind of limit, the panel limit or something, considering this was supposed to be a graphic novel to begin with. Mm-hmm. They could have expanded it out just a bit, but, it's the thing is like when you go into comics and you've got a villain running around and they're always doing this, the whole, complex villain thing that never works out for them. And you're always sitting there going, well, a villain with a gun could do so much damage in a world like that. And then to have Joker do that, like just walk up and just, cold-blooded shoot Barbara Gordon right through and shoot her in the spine on purpose. He could have killed her, but no, he's going to permanently maim her, paralyze her, and then use her like that. I think that's one of my favorite things is that they wrote the Joker. Alan Moore wrote the Joker like he really could be, like, and he even said it himself in one of the panels when Bruce goes to visit Barbara Gordon in the hospital. She's like, no, he's different this time. He's not holding back anymore or whatever. So that's what I like about this. It's like, okay, this guy, all the stops are out and he's just going to go ahead and start murdering. And that's that gives you finally makes the hero more interesting, because you don't know the script after that. The hero is going to have to struggle against that, which, that requires a good writer. So the only other thing is like we haven't gone over it yet. I'm sure you're going to talk about the controversy in the last panel, but okay.
How about you, Todd?
This, there's just so much good about it, but really to think about what we see, what is the message? And like I said, Batman's not the hero. The hero is Jim Gordon, because as a father, if I went through what Jim Gordon went through and I was in that situation, I would not look at Batman and say, hey, we're going to still arrest him by the book.
Oh, yeah. You'd say, I didn't see anything.
Right. Yeah. Do you need me to hold him, Batman, while you string him up? Or, where's the chainsaw? So
I'll get the shovel.
Yeah, exactly. So because of Jim Gordon, he proves the Joker wrong. He does not let Joker win that argument. And that's the true victory in this book. And as I talked about earlier, at the end of this book, we then have Batman and Joker both pretty much admit, you know what? Yep, Joker, you're messed up because of being pushed too far in one incident in your life. I'm messed up, because of what happened to my parents. So it is true. We have responded very negatively, depending on your opinion, to these traumatic events. So, we're crazy. But Jim Gordon, as he shows standing up to the corruption of Gotham, just shows himself to be morally and personally very strong, stronger than Batman. And I don't know, it was really cool because you're right, Dave, this is a Joker book, but Jim Gordon's the hero, and sure, Batman plays a part, but I couldn't get over that. I could not get over like that whole series of shit that we go through. And of course it's draped in horrific things that the Joker does, but you know, that's what gives it its edge. You know, Alan Moore did great. But I like the fact that Jim Gordon, the non-hero, the non-villain, was ultimately the one that was the hero. Although it may be hard to glean that given what he went through, but he did not crack.
No, and that is an excellent point, right? I mean, he says that he's like, by the book, you know, bring him in by the book. We have to show him that's our way, you know. And that's a very powerful thing at that point in the story. So yeah. How about an aspect of something that you didn't like about the book, Don?
Boy, that's an even harder one. What I didn't like about the book. I don't know. I guess Batman is the thing I like the least. I mean, I get his part in it. And I mean, if he wasn't there, then I mean, he is the one that ultimately kind of brings down the Joker. But that turn at the edge, I just don't think Batman should be sitting next to the Joker saying, boy, you're fucked up, but kind of so am I. Tell me a good joke there, buddy. Let's yuck it up. You know, and I mean, the joke he tells at the end is pretty cool, but I was like, oh, Batman, you're really just gonna just hang out with Joker. Okay, cool.
Yeah. How about you, John?
Yeah, you think about it, Batman is really kind of just a shadow player in this. Just he's not Batman. He's just playing the part of the quote unquote hero and going through the motions. Except for that, like again, that last panel. But I don't know. What I really don't like about it is that it was made into an animated feature with Mark Hamill doing the voice of the Joker coming out of retirement to do that, and they put back sex in the front of it. So
let's not. That was such a disaster. I have no idea why they thought that was a good. Oh, we needed to pad the runtime. Okay, but
they could have done so much to pad the runtime, and they failed.
They just all they had to do was cut that part out. Like, why did they? They
didn't. No, not even that. Like, it's just like you cannot. They did not pick another writer to do the first third of that animated movie that could even attempt to sound like Alan Moore's writing. So there was no way that was ever going to work. They could have padded it out a bit more somehow or something. They could have taken a page from Gennady Tartakovsky and done a lot of silent animation to set more of a mood and to add a little bit more to the story maybe, but they, to pad the runtime, but they didn't do any of that. They put bad sex in. So, anyway, like Don said, it's really a really hard question for this. We're going through like all of the best stuff really quickly here. These last few episodes. I don't know. The only thing I could say is it could have been a little bit longer because it did end quite abruptly, and there could have been a lot more interplay between the two of them to highlight more of the, differences and the nuances of the insanity of each one, of Batman and Joker.
So, yeah. I mean, I definitely mirror those opinions. Like, agree with those opinions. Cause Batman the book starts off with Batman going to visit Joker to say, like, I've been thinking about us and I think this is going to only end in one way. One of us is going to kill the other, and then we discover the Joker's not there. He had broken out. That was an imposter, blah, blah. And then then it's like all Joker with panels of flashes of Batman looking for Joker, but not really doing anything. And then we get to the end where, he drives up to the circus. He's figured out where he is. He chases him down. They have the big fight. Joker talks about he's trying to prove it just takes one bad day to become like him. Which also always made me wonder, well, then why why did he go after Jim and not Batman to make him go over the edge, right?
Mhm.
But the other, like, one of the odd things at the end of the book is he chases him down, he tries to shoot him, he's out of bullets, he gets the bang bang flag, and then Batman, like, tries to reach out to him. You know, like, oh, you and I aren't so different, maybe I can help you. You know, after everything that he's done, and then, okay, so the last, as John keeps talking about, he tells the joke, he's laughing, essentially camera pulls away, they're laughing, you see their feet, and then it's raining, and, like, the laughter stops. And Alan Moore has said that's because Batman snapped the Joker's neck at that point. They're not, you know, they don't show it, it's not obvious. I've kind of always felt like they're leaving it up to interpretation, but doesn't that destroy the whole point of the story and what we were just talking about? How Gordon's the hero, he's like, do it our way, by the book, we gotta show him, and...
Right. I just endured all this, now ignore what the fuck I'm saying right now. Like, it makes no sense.
Right. What were you gonna say, John? 'Cause you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this.
The Joker, he did. I think he did. He just.
So they did the Soprano ending. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's. Considering. I'm doing it. There's a little bit of meta to it, considering that if you take into account Alan Moore and his kind of writing and that sort of thing, I personally think that the intention was that he did that he was just showing that they are mirrors of each other. They are both insane in one way or another, but you know that the Joker had finally shown that how far he could go, and that it's just, you know, I think he was strangling him at the end.
Wow.
So the master of all martial arts, I would resort, I gotta strangle the person. I don't know. There's just a couple degrees of there that is uncharacteristic, and I guess that makes me think that that's just Alan Moore messing with us. Plus comics, whenever something happens like that, you always get the letters, the crick or the zack, or, you know.
Yeah, but the thing is that first it's Alan Moore, so he didn't align himself with those tropes, right? Like he's not going to put those in. And second, the way it ended, you know, he did a super serious Batman. He comes in to Arkham to try and do something about, saying, I see where this is going. It's not going to end well for either one of us. Is there any way we can get around that? And finding out that the Joker had already basically put into motion, one of Bruce's worst nightmares, right? Like one of the people that he absolutely cares about, suddenly almost killed, paralyzed for life, and then doing what he did to Commissioner Gordon. I think that him, Batman laughing at the end of that is him cracking, because otherwise he wouldn't be laughing. He would have done the, he might have slugged the Joker until he was unconscious, and then dragged him out to Commissioner Gordon to wait for the cops. But instead he's sitting there laughing with him. That's not the sign. I mean, we already know that his mind isn't healthy, but laughing at a joke with the Joker, I think he cracked. I think that was it. So do
you mean to say the Joker one, maybe he didn't turn Jim Gordon, but the horrific crap that Barbara Gordon went through finally pushed Batman over the edge?
Well, who was the real target? The real target wasn't Jim Gordon. The real target was always Batman.
This is why comic books are fucking cool, people. Anyway.
Well, yeah, when they're written well, this is,
yes, when they're written, yes.
So you're saying, you understand the mind of Alan Moore. That's
I
scary.
wouldn't go that far. Let's just say I have more of a slight insight than a full understanding. Otherwise, I would probably...
I'll give you that, because I think Alan Moore has proven time and time again he has a very sinister view of superheroes. I mean, he wrote Watchmen, for goodness sake, which is a deconstruction of superheroes. And that's what started all of this downtrodden and dark stuff that we get today in this world. So, like, I don't think you're wrong. I just don't like that ending.
Yeah.
Well, but again, this is a one shot, so you can like the ending because it's not going to change, the rest of the Batman mythos, right?
And thus we get into the other problem with this. Because it was so popular, they paralyzed Barbara Gordon in the books and, she becomes Oracle.
Yeah.
The first woman in the chair, by the way. The first person in the chair.
Yes. First person in the chair. The implications of the chemical origin of Joker have been around ever since then. Him falling in the vat, like that's almost like the origin story, at least until recently, where the Dark Knight and the Joker movie did it where he was wearing makeup. But other than that, like, this had far-reaching implications, but it was supposed to be a one-shot,
Yeah.
Such is the power of Alan Moore.
It's him and his witchcraft. He put a spell on it.
No, there will be none of that. Shame on you.
What? He says it all the time. So, I mean, I'm just using Alan Moore's words here. So
I was more along the lines of, that, what was that Disney movie or whatever, the witches or whatever.
Hocus Pocus?
Hocus Pocus, yeah. None of that, no.
Oh, okay.
My daughters love that fucking movie. I've seen that 3 times in the past week.
So
it grates.
So yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to wrap this up. Well, we can wrap it up. We did ask our fans on social media to give us their input on this book. So starting over on Instagram, we had put a post up and asked people to give their opinions, and the Uche Dure Parlay Hour podcast, or they're the OD Parlay Hour on Instagram, said, disturbing and excellent at the same time. Moore's Joker story set a benchmark no one has come close to hitting. And Joker Freak 1973 said, this is by far my favorite possible Joker origin story. The art is spectacular, the storyline was great, by far the best. Moore's writing so far, no one else can top this comic.
That's surprising coming from someone with that name that they would like this one.
Oh,
nice.
that's.
Although, what other origin stories have they ever told? Although I'm not the biggest DC guy, but this is like right, John? This is like the origin. I mean, I know there's a couple different ones in this one book.
Well, there's origin stories, and then there's like the Joker is a class of his own. Because even if they give an origin story like he did here, he's even in the telling of the origin story, he's saying you can't rely on this.
Right.
So I will say this. Also, this is the story that kind of birthed the idea of the villain, especially Joker, being able to carry a story as opposed to the hero carrying the story. And this is where a lot of Joker love started. Which it scares me, the people that say they love Joker.
Yeah, I know he's the greatest, and him and Harley Quinn, it's so sweet.
Oh, God.
When he smacks her around and throws her in chemicals, I love it.
Oh, Jesus.
But I will say this, and this is something else that I think JD probably disagree with me on, but I don't care. I do feel that this is the Joker that heavily influenced, in some ways, the Joker of The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight. Like, that's when I talk about like how I envision the Joker, the definitive kind of Joker in my mind. It's like he's evil, he kills, he's chaotic, but underneath it all, he has a plan that you don't really see. Which goes back to your point, John, that Batman was the target all the time, even though it seemed like Gordon was. So
yeah, I mean that was the whole point, because and I'm kind of going meta there because like the current mythos is that the reason why the Joker is so interested in Batman is because technically speaking, the Joker's consciousness is on a level where he realizes he's a comic book character, and his obsession with Batman is because he thinks that Batman is the only other real person in the world. And that's why he doesn't care about killing anybody else, is because they don't really exist. But that said, even throwing that away because that's like future knowledge for reading this in 1988. Yeah. Still Batman. I mean, it was even hinted at, or it was starting to. The Joker mythos was already starting to gel, where him and Batman had kind of like a specific relationship, like the Joker was fixated on him.
Over on Facebook, we got a very disturbing comment from someone named Volsker. He says, "I love Batman and I rather enjoyed it, but in complete honesty, it is overrated. This won't be top opinion, but is what it is." You gotta smack
Which is
him
not
around.
the top opinion. Thank you. Yes.
You gotta smack your brother around.
Yeah. I just might. Well, but you know, one thing I don't understand about, we don't have to, but he's a newer comic book reader. I will give him that. Right. I literally just started him with the House of X stuff. So he literally is like kind of, dove into the X-Men, dove into where Batman is now, and is kind of branching from there in both directions. So I can understand.
And I agree. And I think, when you're younger, you didn't grow up with it, and you're just getting into comics now, I can see it because you've got so many other stories to compare it to. But, again, it goes back to this set the precedent for a lot of stories going forward. It set things into the into the DC universe that became permanent fixtures for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's also like, again, acknowledging the importance of Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams' Revenge 5 Ways storyline, which brought Joker back as a formidable villain, So it's, like, I'm sure if he read that, he'd be like, this is okay, Yeah. But exactly. At the time and what it did going forward is what's important. So, and then finally over on the Twitters, we had some people chiming in. Lillian Sue said, "Disturbing to be sure, but still one of my favorites. The Gorilla Brain podcast, or your buddy 8-Bit Ray, as you know him." Alan Moore would ask, "People still remember that book?"
Yeah, true.
My 9 different printings say yes. The man may be criminally insane, but he cracked out some of the best literature in our lifetime. That sounds like your opinion, John.
And then got screwed by DC. Oh, you can have the rights to the Watchmen as soon as we stop making that book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. And then they'll make it forever.
And then, 30 years later.
Our pals over at So Wizard podcast. It's an absolute classic and gave Batgirl a way better and more meaningful role as Oracle. Ooh.
That's shots fired, man.
That's dark.
Wow. I know which one of you runs the Twitter. I don't know if you want me to say it on the show, but that's shots fired. Shadow Walker chimed in, is still upset over what Joker did to Barbara Gordon and feel it's time she got her chance to get even. I don't know about that. I mean, they've reset everything since New 52. She can walk again, and she's Batgirl again. So,
well, hell, since this thing, they've been reset like 4 or 5 times.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I will say that I'm relieved to hear that an innocent person getting shot upsets you. That's should. So that's good.
Yeah, but how innocent is Batgirl really? Movie Shelf said, "I can't comment on the book, but I can comment on the animated film."
Oh, no. No.
Well, don't.
It's one of the darkest tales and origins for Joker's story. In fact, the recent Joker film felt most connected to this story when it comes to his psychological makeup. Thank you for keeping it short and clean. Ghosts of the Stratosphere. The guys over there said, it hasn't aged super well, but it is still really good. Fantastic art by Boland, and I never bought that Batman kills him at the end, but I see why it would make sense.
I don't get the thing about it not aging well. This is aged perfectly fine.
Well, I asked what hasn't aged well about it, and just the exploitation of Barbara and the treating of her as a victim. DC made lemonade out of it, but Joker's says sexual abuse of her is harder to stomach now than it might have been in the 80s.
So that's a Me Too kind of thing.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. I never took it as sexual abuse.
Right. Yeah. It
was two things, and I think maybe, and I don't know who runs, I don't know which of you guys run the Twitter, and I hope you're listening to this, but as a father, it's more about seeing your daughter exposed, vulnerable, and hurt.
Yes.
That was supposed to get to Gordon to snap him. It had nothing to do with sex. And that's one of the things that bothers me, is that we now live in a world where no, it was sex. And it's like, no, it wasn't. I don't think Alan Moore ever thought that. I think it was, no, this is something to drive Gordon nuts to see, again, his daughter exposed and hurt. Like, that's the whole point of it. And I know people argue that left and right, and I get it.
I literally have never heard anybody argue that.
Well, they were doing covers, and they did a Batgirl cover that was a homage to the Killing Joke, but it was Joker standing behind her, and she was standing there, and it was Joker in the outfit from the Killing Joke standing behind her, and he had he was painting her mouth with blood with his two fingers. And people were up in arms about it because they were saying, "Oh, you're flashing back to the Killing Joke and the sexual abuse," and it's like, no, there wasn't. Like, I never got that from that story. That's why I don't understand why that cover bothers you.
And she didn't I mean, technically, it's not really an homage because it's like Barbara Gordon didn't really factor into this at all. She was a set piece.
And again, she took what happened to her, and they wrote a story where she came out stronger.
Exactly.
And as Oracle, and became Batman's partner. And like, I think that's what you take from that. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a Gen Xer who doesn't know anything. And then finally, Nostalgia Cast said, "Listen, it's terrible what they did to Barbara. Terrible using female pain and suffering as a catalyst for men's pain and suffering is not fair. But the story isn't about Barbara.
Right.
It's about the events of one bad day and the effect that it has on Jim Gordon, Joker, or Batman." There you go. Because it was one bad day that created Batman, one bad day that created Joker. Yes.
And one bad day that got Joker's neck snapped. Right.
Oh, you're not going to let that go, are you?
No. No, because that was the whole point. It's one bad day. Well, Batman just had one of his worst days ever.
So that's 2 bad days for Batman.
I guess that's why they put the sex in the animated version, just to give him a...
Jeez Louise.
And that's what bothers me so much about that, is he doesn't stop her.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's not Batman. But anyway, especially the Batman in this book, Anyway, I think that might be where we can put a pin in it. So we'll go around, final thoughts on the book, and yay or nay, or do you recommend it? We don't normally rate these because this isn't a movie, but John, you like rating them, so you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really do think that he offed the Joker at the end of this, but this is like, I don't know, this is one of my top 2, I guess, stories in all comicdom. I'll give it like 10 bodies.
Okay, Don.
Yeah, it's a really, really influential comic. Again, like you said, it was supposed to be a one shot, but it was so well done, so popular that they made it into continuity, or at least certain aspects of it. It influenced The Dark Knight, which is considered by many to be the greatest comic book movie that is, out there right now. So it really is a complex story where it's just great. I really don't have a complaint about it. So I'm also going to give it 10 bodies out of 10. It's awesome. If you're a comic book person, you should read it. If you're a Batman person, even more so.
Cool. Let me think. This would be my number 1 Joker story. Number 3 Batman story. And it definitely would rank in my top 5 overall comic book stories. So I definitely recommend it. Like, if you want to understand my view on who the Joker is, you read this and Death in the Family, and you'll get an understanding of who I think the Joker is and how he should be portrayed all the time.
The depths at which he will go to prove a point.
Exactly.
To send a message.
Yes, exactly. That's what both of those stories are about. And yeah, fine. I'll parrot you guys. 10 bodies. All right. So yeah, just long story short, go read it if you haven't read it. And I hope we haven't spoiled it for you too much, but it doesn't matter. It's a comic book. It's a great story. Just go read it. And John's right. It's short. You can blow through this in an afternoon easy. You can read it twice in a day and to really absorb it. So on that note, let's get some recommendations for our listeners out there. Don, got any recommendations? And again, where can they find the Omega Level Nerds podcast?
All right, yeah. Anything that I recommend, the X of Swords event, the Juggernaut series that just released is interesting. Juggernaut now working with Damage Control, suiting job for him. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But another thing, this is a little outside of my wheelhouse, but I figured, hey, what the heck? They Iron Man #1, so they kind of soft reboot of Iron Man, which is interesting because for years now, all the cosmic level, universe ending, earth ending events, Tony Stark has had his hands in. In fact, he was a major reason, the last crossover event was concluded. He was the MVP in my book. So it's interesting to see the character go back to, okay, just have a couple, more street level Iron Man stuff, I mean, he went out and he bought the most basic muscle car he could buy just so he could go out, racing these kids at night and lose $4,000 because this kid beats him. And so that's how he's trying to help ground himself again. Really, really interesting stuff. He's no longer in Stark Industries. He liquidated his asset, took like 20% of it, put it in the stock market and told his AI, hey, just make money with that. The rest of this I'm going to play with and do stuff with. So it's really interesting to see him go from on high. I'm up solving all these universe level problems down to now I'm just worried about me and being kind of that simpler Iron Man. So you should go check that out.
Cool.
And the Transformers My Little Pony Friendship in Disguise series do not let that fool you. It is actually quite, it's lighthearted. Don't go in there thinking you're going to get, Kingdom Come, but it's actually fun.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
And again, Mega Level Nerds is on Twitch on Tuesdays.
Yes. No. It's we're on Sundays. Sundays at 9:30. Yep. Sundays at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's right. And please follow us on Twitter at Omega Level Nerds. So we need some more followers there. And if I get up to 300 followers, I am going to give away a hardcover version of the Chris Claremont, Frank Miller Wolverine run. That's the iconic one where he's got his claws up and anyway. But yeah, so please go check me out at OmegaLevelNerds.com and Twitch. Go ahead. Or .com. I'm sorry. At Omega Level Nerds. Yes.
Are friends eligible?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Your name will go through the randomizer just as randomly.
Okay, good. Well, I will recommend that people go to superheroespeak.com where they can find the podcast every week and they can find comic book reviews. The last 2 that were put up were issues 1 and 2 of My Little Pony Meet the Transformers by our good friend D Square. And also, I finally, John, started watching this season of The Boys, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get some episodes in tonight.
If you didn't like Homelander, if you still liked Homelander by the end of season 1, you're really gonna hate Homelander.
Yeah.
I bet he's just like, what's the most horrible thing I could do? And that's what he does.
Yeah.
And he's Superman, which makes it fucking scary. Well, except for apparently he can't lift planes. But anyway.
Yeah. So if you're not watching it, watch it because we might be talking about it on this show. Once the season's over, we shall see. We might have you back on, Don, because JD pretty much refuses to watch it. He wasn't a fan of the book, so he kind of refuses to watch the show.
Well, it's good for his mental health at least. So.
But also to piggyback off of you, go to superheroespeak.com, and I need to do more reviews now that I should have a little more time now that I've kind of ramped up in my current position. But we do, IDW, Boom Studios, man, they got good stuff. So go on superheroespeak.com to kind of check out those reviews. But I definitely urge everybody to branch out from Marvel or DC and check out IDW and Boom and Valiant. Like, they got some really cool stuff.
Yes, and I need to talk to you when we're done here.
Okay.
So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.